Folks, I'm sure you can see just over my left shoulder here, there's a pathway in the garden, in the lawn. And this is a pathway every winter. It appears whenever the grass is damp and it's autumn time and the grass is often wet. And Tozer likes to sit up there at the top of the lawn. There's a little sun trap up there, and whenever the sun comes out, he likes to go up there and lie in the sun and maybe get something off asleep. And it's interesting that he always follows this same sort of pathway up and down. This is his little track. This is Tozer's little pathway. And you know, I heard a story many years ago about a tribal group in Africa. They had been reached with the gospel, and the Lord had moved, and people had come to faith in the Lord Jesus Christ. And it became something of a praying community. And whenever people went to pray, they selected a special place, a quiet place in the bush, and they left the tribal village and they went out through the grass and through the fields, and they found their little place that they had set aside, their trysting place, if you like, to spend time with the Lord. And they each had beaten down a pathway to the place of prayer. And it was very easy to discern if somebody had backslidden and got away from God, because soon the pathway was no longer discernible. The grass started to grow again, and it just blended in with the rest of the environment, and no longer was the little pathway seen. And so if somebody's pathway began to grow over, others would maybe comment on that and challenge them. How's your prayer life? I've noticed that your pathway has somewhat grown over. Samuel Chadwick was an old Methodist pastor and theologian, one of the last great Methodists, and he wrote a little book entitled The Pathway of Prayer. And I wonder today, could I challenge you, what about the pathway of prayer in your life? Is there a place in your home or a place in your local church where you go to be with the Lord and seek His face? In your own devotional life, what about the pathway of prayer? What about publicly? Do you attend the public place of prayer? Because whenever a believer stops praying, it is very real evidence of someone out of fellowship with the Lord. Prayer takes determination. It doesn't come naturally to us. Sometimes you find prayer difficult. And whenever motivation wears off, that's whenever discipline needs to kick in. We're not always motivated to pray. We don't always feel like praying. We're not always even excited about praying, but whenever we don't feel like praying, pray anyway. Whenever we're not excited about prayer, pray anyway. Because I find as long as you spend time in the presence of God and you're honest with Him and you come before Him with an honest and open heart, and you even confess that you don't desire to pray the way you should, and you maybe don't even desire the Lord the way you ought to, and your heart is flat and your heart is dry and your heart is lukewarm, it's important to confess that need and to tread that pathway to the place of prayer once again. So I just want to throw out that little challenge here. As Tozer has his pathway in our garden, what about the pathway of prayer in your life? And here he comes, just down this pathway. That's worked out well. Here he comes. I don't think he was praying, mind you, but he probably knows there's some biscuits here. So that worked out well, Tozer. Hadn't planned that at all. So that just illustrates the point. Okay, folks, good to see you. Thanks for joining us. Bye-bye.